Today we saw Jonathan Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts go down with a bad-looking ankle injury, and this was a concerning one right from the start because immediately after it happened, we saw him limp off of the field. Now, initial reports are saying that the Colts are concerned with a possible high ankle sprain, but Jonathan Taylor will, of course, undergo more tests in the morning to determine the severity of the damage. Now, asked after the game about how it was feeling, Taylor responded that he said his ankle was feeling good, however, he just was not able to finish the game. There is, of course, a grading system for these high ankle sprains, and since some people may not be too familiar as to what exactly a high ankle sprain is and that grading system, I'm going to go ahead and focus on that with this video. Welcome, sports fans. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Nick Gallo, and I'm a doctor of physical therapy, and with my channel, I take a look at sports injuries and try to explain them so they are a little bit easier to understand. Then I go over the expected time frame for that person to return from those injuries. If you like today's content and you find it informative, please hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel because I will be making more videos in the future regarding sports injuries, rehabilitation, and other physical therapy related content. Also, if you have any comments or questions, please leave those in the comment section below. Now we can see here that as Taylor is running the ball, as he's being pulled onto the ground, we see that that ankle just really gets twisted up there. And as it's being twisted, that foot, of course, is staying planted in the turf. Here I've got my model of the foot and ankle, and so if you take a look here, you see these two long bones, the first one being the tibia, which is the shin bone that is most commonly referred to as the shin. That's going to come on down here, and that's going to form the medial or the inside portion of the ankle. Then along the outside of the lower leg, there is this bone known as the fibula, and that's going to come down and form the lateral portion of the ankle. And if we go ahead and take a look onto the inside of the ankle there, that is known as the talus bone. So those three bones, as they come together, they form basically what we refer to as the ankle joint. Now, of course, there are a number of different structures that are located in the ankle joint itself. We have the lateral ligaments that are going to support the outside portion of the ankle. And on the inside here, we have a number of ligaments that are going to be comprised of what is known as the deltoid ligament. And that is going to essentially stabilize the medial inside portion of the ankle, and the ones that are located on the outside, that is going to stabilize the outside or lateral portion of the ankle. Now, at the foot and ankle, there are some essential movements. The first one being dorsiflexion, where the foot is going to come up this way. Then the opposite of that is known as plantar flexion, where the foot is pointing down in this direction. If we put the foot and model this way, this direction coming inward is known as inversion, and finally going outside like this, that is known as eversion. When somebody thinks of a traditional ankle sprain, what they're usually thinking about is the foot is rolling in this direction, and that is going to sprain the outside ligaments of the ankle. When we talk about a high ankle sprain, however, that is not what we are referring to. Those ligaments on the outside or the inside could be involved depending on the position of the foot and ankle at the time of the injury. But a lot of times when a person suffers a high ankle sprain, what's happening here is you're going to get any type of torsion or twisting coming through the lower leg going into the foot. There are some ligaments that are located a little bit higher than what we refer to as the traditional ankle joint. Therefore, that's why it is called a high ankle sprain. On the front of the portion of the lower leg here, there is a ligament known as the anterior inferior tibiofibular ligament. So anterior meaning that it's on the front of the body, inferior meaning that it's lower down on the body, tibiofibular, meaning that it's going to attach the tibia and the fibula together. And the reason why this ligament is there is because you can see that when somebody goes through a twisting motion down here, this is going to try and separate these two bones. It's going to try to separate the tibia and the fibula. So the main function of that anterior inferior tibiofibular ligament is to prevent separation of these two long bones. As we move to the back of the model here, there of course is another ligament that is located to the posterior, and this is called the posterior inferior tibiofibular ligament. So posterior meaning it's on the back, inferior, lower, tibiofibular meaning that it is of course keeping the tibia and the fibula from separating. And once again, as this model twists here, you can see that these two bones really want to separate. Finally, there is something known as the interosseous membrane, and that's actually going to span beyond the length of this model, but it's going to span the remainder of the tibia and fibula all the way up the lower leg, and of course that's going to function to keep those bones from separating too. So Anytime somebody is going to be in a position where they're getting a lot of twisting or torsion, especially with the foot being planted in something like the turf or the ground, this is going to put a lot of strain on those two major ligaments that are immediately above the ankle joint and that interosseous membrane. A few other things can absolutely be affected in this. Basically, if somebody is getting a lot of torsional force, this can lead to something known as an ankle dislocation, where the ankle essentially is just going to pop out of that joint right there, or it can lead to a fracture. But based on already that we're hearing that Taylor's saying that the ankle is feeling good, this leads me not to believe that he's dealing with anything like that. Plus, he was not stabilized in a brace or a cast. Now, when we talk about the grading system for these high ankle sprains, essentially there are grades 1, 2, and 3. Grade 1 is known as a minor ankle injury, where essentially you're getting some stretching of the affected ligament, but you're not getting any tearing. In a grade 2 ankle sprain, what you're dealing with here is you're dealing with some stretching and some partial tearing of the affected ligament. And finally, in a grade 3, this is when you're getting essentially a full rupture of the affected ligament. As of right now, we don't know the exact grade that Taylor is dealing with, but the fact that he was saying that his ankle is already feeling good, this to me makes it sound like he's dealing with more of a grade 1, maybe a grade 2 at the absolute most. But the fact that it sounds like he is of very low irritability at this point makes me think it's more of a grade 1. If he's dealing with a grade 1 high ankle sprain, essentially what we're looking at time frame wise here, this can range anywhere from about 2 weeks to about a month. It really just depends on how that person is presenting. Of course, all of this is going to be confirmed via MRI, which I expect to have him tomorrow, and we should have those results so we can make a much more accurate time frame for his return to sport. If we get somebody in the clinic that is dealing with more of a grade 1 or a grade 2 high ankle sprain, essentially if the injury has just happened, we're going to focus a lot on that acronym RICE, where R stands for rest, I stands for ice, C stands for compression, and E stands for elevation. During this time frame where the person is in the inflammation phase, we want to make sure that we are minimizing the amount of pain that the person has, as well as controlling the pain and swelling. Then once this person is out of the inflammatory phase, which usually takes about a week or so, we can start to work on range of motion, because we want to make sure that the ankle joint is going to move fully throughout its degrees of freedom. Then after that, we're going to work on strengthening, and finally strengthening and weight-bearing movements. This all depends on their follow-ups with the physician. It also depends on how they are presenting in physical therapy. So as soon as I get a little more information about his case, I'll be sure to update everybody in that comment section. And if you happen to hear anything too, please feel free to update everybody as well. Once again, we're not going to know the actual grade or the severity of this ankle injury. I'm only going off of the fact that he said he feels good so far. So that's making me sound like a grade 1. And if it is a grade 1, that is the absolute best case scenario. So I'll be sure to keep my ears open for any progress on that. And that's it as of right now regarding Jonathan Taylor's most recent possible high ankle sprain. I wish him the best of luck. I really do hope it is that grade 1, and then we get some good news from that MRI. Once again, if you really like today's content, please hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, because I will be making many videos in the future. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.